I'm Justine Picardy. I'm the editor-in-chief of Harper's Bazaar and Town & Country UK, and I've just come back from a month of travelling, the most recent of which was a week in Paris for Paris Fashion Week. So as always, one of the highlights of Paris Fashion Week was the Chanel show. Karl Lagerfeld, who's rather singular in the fashion world in that he has a sense of wit and a sense of humour. He staged the show in the Grand Palais but created a Chanel airport. And so what we saw was a sort of literal flight of fantasy. The Dior show, which took place in a courtyard at the Louvre, you walked into this courtyard and we saw this literal mountain of blue delphiniums. The fragrance was incredible and the sight was incredible, and it was very, very evocative. Yves Saint Laurent is a brand that generates enormous controversy and huge amounts of publicity ever since its creative director, Hedi Slimane. It really divides opinions. So this time on the runway, we basically saw Saint Laurent does glamorous Glastonbury. Valentino is always a highlight of Paris Fashion Week for me and others because the creative directors have this vision of such grace and elegance and romance, and the embroidery and the embellishment, you know, in these ready-to-wear collections nevertheless have a kind of couture-like elegance. This was rather a different collection because usually they look to their Roman roots, but this time there was a sort of imaginative, creative, fantastical idea of Africa. And to me, seeing it in Paris, it reminded me of the way that in the 1920s that artists like Picasso and Braque were being inspired by an imaginative idea of what Africa meant. Hermès is one of the jewels in the crown of French fashion brands. It's a very traditional brand, and unlike some of the other brands, it has kept this very quiet sense of what elegance and beauty means. So in the frenzy of a month of kind of crazy fashion shows, it's like you almost sort of sigh with relief when at this Hermès show at just the pure beauty of it. I always look forward to the Celine show in Paris because I'm always interested to see what Phoebe Philo is going to offer. She's British, she's a woman, and her take on clothes for women is always very, very interesting. And so I thought this was a particularly strong collection in that it offered a lot of very beautiful clothes. Some were clothes that might be more difficult to wear, sort of lingerie-inspired dresses, but there were also a lot of clothes that were just so beautifully tailored and beautifully proportioned. So Louis Vuitton takes this very important slot on the last day of Paris Fashion Week. Now, Nicolas Ghesquière, who is the creative director, is a very, again, a bit like Hedi Slimane, he is a designer that often divides opinion. He's extraordinarily creative and imaginative. And what this show seemed to say to me was it was an exploration of a sort of virtual universe. So Paris Fashion Week occupies a unique place in the fashion calendar because Paris is the home of couture. Paris is the place where Coco Chanel launched her brand in 1910. You know, it's a place where Schiaparelli invented this mix between surrealism and art. It's a place where Christian Dior launched his brand in 1947. I wasn't sure what to expect in Paris because France has had a very troubled year in all kinds of ways, and yet you feel the might of these big global brands. I feel that there's a kind of conversation going